So, my name is Balaji. I'm part of the Dynamics 365 product engineering team out of Seattle. And this afternoon, the topic of the discussion in the presentation is what is new in Dynamics 365 for retail, and where are we heading, and what does the roadmap look like? So that's essentially what we're going to talk about. Quick show of hands, how many of you are fairly new to a retail solution? This is your first time hearing about it. Anyone like that? Okay, there's a couple. I'll do my best to stay relevant to that set of questions that you might have, what does retail solution do and all that. But the topic itself is not necessarily to give you an overview of retail. It's specifically to talk about enhancements that we have made over the last 9 to 12 months, and then plus where we are heading in the future. Yep. I'll jump straight into that topic, really, of what is new. And the way to think about this is, over the last 9 or so months, what have we done across all the various different areas, including the version that is about to ship. So basically, as most of you know, that we are shipping both spring and fall waves, basically April and October of each year. So there is a version that is about to ship next week. So what I'm calling as what's new includes those capabilities that will come available starting next week, actually. So, and then when I talk about roadmap, basically the way to think about that is roadmap post October of this year, meaning starting October through sometime next year. So the way we've always thought about this, and especially in the new cloud world, is basically from our investments and enhancement standpoint, breaking it down into 2 main pillars. One is everything to do with fundamentals in order to run the service, in order to make it better. And then the second bucket is all about functional improvements from an industry perspective. So I'll cover both in that order. The first and the foremost is a notion called Cloud Scale Unit. And again, I'll walk you through. So for those of you who may not know retail solution, but a quick glance of this is, it's basically a distributed system. So you have your head office running, you can have all of your channels, whether it's stores, mobile, e-commerce, that are all very distributed. And retail solution has a component called retail server. So that's basically, think of it as a business logic layer that can sit in the cloud or in the store or wherever it might be. And the idea here from a cloud scale unit standpoint is how do we make sure that it aligns for global retailers who can take dependency and run our solution, if you will. So what happens today, so if you were, when I say today, it means in all the versions prior to that, is when you deploy Dynamics 365 for retail, you see the central box here. Basically, we pick a data center that is appropriate for a customer, and when we deploy it. And what that really means is both back office and the channels are all co-located in the same data center, sharing the same set of resources that will all be used by various stores and e-commerce storefronts and everything else. That's how we have been for the last 2.5 years, ever since the first version of Dynamics 365 retail shipped, actually. So it's all co-located, both for back office and for the channel storefronts. And as you can imagine, there are many challenges with that model, and we're seeing that in everyday use by various customers who are actually live using the system. The fundamental part of it is latency. So if you have a store that is in New York and the data center is US West, for example, for every call, every lookup, it always has to use the data center that is on the other side of the coast. Worse yet, we have global retailers who actually operate in multiple different countries. So if I have a store in Australia, for example, and my data center is in Canada, then obviously that poses a lot of challenges in terms of latency itself. The second thing is in terms of resource governance and load isolation. So what that really means is every time you run something in your back office, let's say you're running your replenishment planning, if you will, or if you're doing some form of reporting job or anything else that is taking a lot of resources from your back office perspective, because the stores and e-commerce are all using the same resources, whenever you run something in your back office, like your end-of-day statement posting or replenishment or anything like that, it consumes the same resources, actually degrading the performance from a channel standpoint, whether it's store or e-commerce or whatnot. You also think about, especially for large retailers when they have hundreds or thousands of stores across multiple different regions, when you do servicing, meaning that when I apply an update or when I patch or do anything like that, obviously there is going to be a little bit of downtime. And when that downtime is incurred, then it affects the stores or e-commerce storefront as well, which is a no-go for almost all the retailers, if you will. So how can we solve all of these problems in a way that is meaningful and provide the capability from a scalability standpoint, so that as you bring on more and more stores, or if you go through a seasonal holiday season load, for example, how can we be more scalable in that regard, was the thought process that we went through in terms of how to set it up. And the resulting part of it is what we call as retail cloud scale unit. And I'll give you a quick sense of what this means. So I mentioned retail server is the core component here that has web APIs that you can use in order to consume, whether it's a store or e-commerce or whatnot. Now, today, what we allow you to do is you actually can run it all in the cloud, or you can actually deploy that in a physical on-prem in-store location. So we call that as store scale unit. Basically, if you think about a grocery store or a high transactional volume store, you can actually deploy that in the store, and that provides you with business continuity as well as the ability to isolate the load, if you will. Taking the same concept, we now are introducing what we call as cloud scale unit. The idea behind that is, now remember I was telling you that both the back office and the retail server were co-located, sharing the same set of resources. We have now separated that out. So you can actually move the back office, what we call as retail headquarters, to the channel retail server, if you will, all in the same data center, but they no longer share the same set of resources, if you will. So that gives you isolation from back office. Now, when you run your end-of-day statement posting job or replenishment or reporting or anything like that, as much as it might consume other resources, it will not impact your channels from being impacted, whether it's stores or e-commerce. That's a significant benefit for our customers, if you will. The second thing is we have taken retail server, which was running on VMs, basically on IaaS. Now, as part of this move, we have made that as a native Azure web app. So what that really means is you'll get not only the ability to handle the load, but it can auto scale. And it provides you with redundancies from a retail server standpoint as well, so that you can actually scale appropriately for your incoming traffic as it may increase or decrease, if you will. And last but not the least is now if I have to apply a patch or an update to my back office, my channels are not impacted as well. So when I apply my monthly update or anything like that, my channels are not impacted anymore. So it gives us a good set of improvements, both from a scalability standpoint, servicing standpoint, as well as in terms of load isolations and performance improvements in that regard. So that's our first step, and this part of it is happening as part of our fall release that I just mentioned. This is phase one of many things that we want to go to. So this is happening in the fall release. Looking ahead beyond phase one, now I mentioned in phase one that we are putting the retail scale unit in the same data center where the head office is. If you take a look at the next phase, which is coming up in 2019, is that we are also not going to just restrict it to the same data center where your head office might be. It can be in other data centers as well. So multi-region in different parts of Azure regions that you can actually deploy it. So basically, if you remember, one of the goals that we talked about was latency. If I have a store in Australia, why have the scale unit in the US, if you will, when I could have one right there in the Australian region, if you will. So you can actually have one or more of these scale units depending on where you need them, which group of stores can be pointed to that scale unit, and that gives you the ability to reduce the redundancy, the latency in terms of where the channels are, as well as from a data distribution standpoint. We think about that in terms of how to make it transparent for our customers as well. So that's the next stage that we have started working on, and that should come in sometime in 2019. Beyond that, this is something that we are still investigating. The idea here is we want to be able to do what we call as exposure controls that we provide to our customers. So think about it this way. So let's say we have an update that comes available. Our customers are supposed to take that update and test it and deploy it. Now, what happens today is when the moment they deploy it, it automatically becomes available for all their stores, how many ever they might have in whatever regions that they may have. So there is no form of ability for them to control the exposure to those channels. So the third stage of this is not only that these scale units can be geographically distributed, but the idea here is now we'll provide you with mechanism to say this particular feature or feature set, I can expose it to, let's say, my scale unit in Australia, which means that only those stores that are pointing to that scale unit can get to see that benefit. So from a retailer standpoint, now you can try it out in a set of pilot stores, make sure everything is working okay before you then roll it out into other set of regions and locations, if you will. So similar to the concept of phased deployment across all of your stores, the exposure control here will allow you to try out new capabilities, one or more stores at a time, through the concept of a scale unit that you have, and then roll it out further. So this one it will happen obviously after phase 2, and there is a lot of discussion in terms of how do we make it happen, what kind of controls do we provide the IT administrator from a retailer standpoint, as well as how does a business know which particular stores are running what kind of capability, so to speak. But eventually, when it is all said and done, when we are at phase 3, you can see where we started with, which was mostly fundamentals, right? So I need to have better performance and better scale. Now, when we finish this, you'll also have not only addressed that, but you've also addressed the capabilities as it pertains to innovation. As we provide monthly updates, as we provide future updates, how can a customer benefit in terms of not having downtime, but also having exposure control as well. So that's where we are heading from that particular topic standpoint. The second topic, obviously, this is again from a fundamental standpoint, is extensibility. I think most of you know this. Retail solution was completely sealed end-to-end from channels all the way to back office, starting July of 2017. And obviously, our retail server commerce runtime capabilities had always been fully extensible for many, many years. But one of the key things is on the point of sale, the extensibility that we need to provide so that customers, partners can actually implement a specific set of capabilities either by region or market or by vertical, or better yet, even by a particular customer's requirements. And we have enhanced those type of extensibility quite a lot over the last 9+ months. Some examples of those are, now you can actually host custom controls inside point of sale. So obviously, you can write a page all by yourself, brand new POS pages you can write. You can extend existing pages. You can now extend existing pages by hosting point of sale custom controls that you can host. You can add custom columns, as well as based on triggers and APIs that you can actually invoke functions that were not possible before, so to speak. So all of these are a brand new set of capabilities, and what we are seeing today is many of the customers who are actually deploying point of sale are actually taking advantage of many of these extension points to be able to meet their needs as well. The one important thing I'll also point out is if you haven't taken a chance, please take a look at our documentation and code samples. We have enhanced that significantly as well. So both in terms of sample code that we provide and how you can use that in order to extend POS as well. One important thing also as part of core fundamental part is that when we ship Dynamics 365 Retail in the initial set of versions, we relied on what we call a self-service. So you can actually go to Dynamics 365 Retail head office. You can actually download point of sale, and you can actually set it up manually. So it's a self-serve way of doing it as opposed to anything else. And that served a good purpose, more so than anything else, at least to begin with, when we transitioned from AX 2012 and the on-prem world to the cloud world. What we stayed away from was in the AX 2012 R3, we actually provided mass deployment capabilities built in through system center integration that we provided. In the Dynamics 365 version, we haven't done that quite yet, but with a lot of customers who have hundreds of stores, they're always asking us to say, how can you instrument this? How can we make this available so that they can use the tool of their choice to actually deploy it? So we are beginning to make progress in that regard. So the first step obviously is the what we call as the silent installation of POS. So you can actually script it and actually install that without actually requiring user intervention, if you will. So that part has been completed and shipped, as well as the fact that it can also be silently serviced as well in doing so. What we haven't been able to do yet, which is again one of the open topics that we are still looking into, is the ability to activate. So for example, for those of you who know this already, so once you download, install point of sale, when you launch it for the very first time, it will ask you for your AID credentials so that it can connect appropriately so that you can activate that device. That process also must be silently capable of doing so, so that you don't end up having a user having to do that. That is not yet done, so you can now take point of sale and you can deploy it silently, but when you launch it as a user for the very first time, activation still requires a user to go in and put in their credentials and do it appropriately. That is something that we are looking into. There are other components in the store, like a hardware station, where today we don't have the silent install capabilities, but that's something that we are looking into as well. So our goal is eventually you should be able to deploy any component in the store through silent installation, silent activation, without users having to do anything. So as a cashier or a store associate, when they come in, they can simply launch the application and start using it, as opposed to any of the IT admin tasks that they need to do otherwise. One important thing, again, you might all know this already, but as part of upgrade, as well as update from one version to another, the ability for us to support phased rollouts, which we call that as N-1. So the ability to support a previous version of point of sale connecting to a newer version of back office, that's something that we've always had since AX 2012 days, and that is continuing forward now with Dynamics 365, where if you're going from version 7.2, 7.3 to, let's say, 8.1 that is shipping next week, you can continue to use the older version of the clients in the store for a period of time until you're able to catch up and roll out all of your store updates, if you will. So it provides phenomenal value for our customers, so they don't have to go flip the bits on all stores overnight. So it gives them a little bit of time that they can use in order to test, train the users in the store as well. On the same token, the same set of capabilities are being available now for AX 2012 customers, specifically CU12 and beyond. So if you're running AX 2012, you can actually upgrade to Dynamics 365 for back office, but you can continue to run the AX 2012 point of sale, whether it's modern point of sale or enterprise point of sale, again for a period of time until you're able to go touch those stores, train the users, and get them onto the new version. So the 2012 CU12 and above is supported as of the fall release, if you will. The next fundamental topic is obviously on payments and hardware. So this is something that, it has caused a lot of issues for us over the last couple of years, I should say. One on peripherals, like your printers, your drawers, scanners, and so on, where we used to basically say that you can use any device of any kind as long as it is OPOS compliant, will support it. Customers ended up choosing devices that ends up in a bad state because the drivers are not well tested and so on. So we actually did three things. Number one is we actually provided simulators, so a point of sale simulator and a hardware simulator. So you can actually test point of sale without actually having to have physical devices attached, so that you know what a point of sale will do when it's about to pop a drawer open or to print something. And similarly, for a hardware peripheral, you can actually test hardware without actually downloading POS, activating POS, and so on. So we have done both. as well as we have actually now published a whitelist, if you will, whitelist set of peripherals that we have tested, and we have made sure that everything is working in order to provide guidance for our customers and partners to say, if you have to go pick peripherals, these are the ones that we have tested already. So if you're picking something, it's still possible for you to do so. We are not restricting it to only that list, but the idea there is if you're picking something, the ownership will be on the customer or the partner to make sure that it all works opposed to in the product. So that's something that we take very, very seriously because it has resulted in customer implementations not going very well. So I'd encourage you to take a look at those, try out those simulators in order to make sure it all works. Second topic is related to payments. So we've always relied on third-party partner solutions for payment integration due to the complexity of payments as well as in terms of how fragmented that market is. And again, it has served us really well over the years, but also from a cloud service standpoint, as you're taking payments in a store, if something doesn't go well, then obviously the user doesn't know what the issue is. The issue gets escalated to Microsoft. We can know exactly where the challenges are. And as part of that process, we have done two things. One is our payment SDK has become much more resilient in terms of how we have built it, how the error logging happens, where we're able to pinpoint where the issues have taken place, which is a significant improvement compared to where we were before. And the second thing is that we are actually now building our own first-party payment connector that we plan to ship to our customers. So this particular connector is actually in development. It's in preview right now. We expect that to ship by later this calendar year. And that, when it is done, as a customer, they'll have a couple of choices. They can actually take the point of sale from Microsoft along with the payment connector, and they can configure it to make it to work. Or they can take the point of sale and take a payment connector from one of our partner solutions and make that work as well. So it gives them the flexibility, but the most important thing is that there is a connector coming from Microsoft for both card present, card not present transactions in an omni-channel way that provides an opportunity for a customer to leverage that if they choose to do so. And more on that in terms of exactly what the connector is, what markets are they going to be available in, and so on. That is coming up in the next few weeks as it moves beyond preview into, right now it's in private preview. It's going to get to public preview soon. As part of that process, you'll get more information on the connector as well as in terms of the availabilities in countries. The next thing is around the commerce data exchange and offline data management. So this is how we distribute data from back office to the stores and how stores can be potentially offline as well. We have made a ton of improvement here that are classified under the fundamentals bucket, if you will. And the idea here is that we actually went from how we implemented offline in 2012 days to in Dynamics 365, where it is completely seamless. So if the store client figures out that the cloud components are not accessible, they can it'll automatically and seamlessly fall offline, and the user doesn't even have to know anything about it. But that also resulted in some customer feedback for us where it was going too frequently offline, and the user doesn't get any notification of any kind. So we have made that also now configurable. So if they want to know about it, they can configure it, and whenever they want to go back online, they can do that manually as well. As well as from a reliability and performance standpoint, significant improvements have been made on the offline capabilities of the modern POS client, if you will. And last but not the least on the fundamentals is this notion of optimization advisor, which is a set of rules that can not only diagnose what the issue is, but can actually recommend a set of solutions that you can actually take actions on in order to fix the issue as opposed to anything else. This is in fairly early stages, I would say. It's not where we expect it to be, but the idea is we just got started with this in terms of figuring out some issues that can happen in the system, provide notification to the user through a UI so that you can take action on in order to heal the system effectively. I'll move on to the functional improvements section now in terms of what we have done here. The functional improvements are set of capabilities that are providing value from a end user facing business process capabilities. So the first and foremost is obviously distributed order management. So this has been in development, I would say probably for the last 9 months or so. And we have gone through this with a set of customers for preview purposes, and it is actually becoming generally available in the October version. So starting next week as part of 8.1 version, this is becoming generally available. So what distributed order management does is basically it provides intelligent order orchestration. So as orders are coming in from various channels, what is the right fulfillment location for that particular order? So it used to be manually done in the past. Now we have automated that, and it is actually based on a heuristic based solver that provides that capability to say this order should be fulfilled from this particular DC or this particular location. And the idea behind this is also that it reduces cost. Basically, it's based on shipping cost. It reduces cost of operations plus speed of service. So that if I live here in Tampa and I place an order, why get the order shipped from my DC that is sitting in probably Denver or something like that? So if I have a store, might as well ship it through the store. That's the idea. So we take all of the orders that are coming from a variety of different sources, which is all my order sources, whether it's call center, e-commerce, store, or whatnot. It goes through an order management process system that we have. All the orders flow through that. And using the DOM solver, basically that takes into account all the rules and profiles that you set up. It processes them, spits out a fulfillment plan that can then be executed through any one of these locations, whether it's a warehouse or whether it's a store, if you will. And it's a fulfillment plan suggested by the distributed order management solver. You can actually have the ability to review, accept, or reject the choices that the solver gives you, so that gives you freedom to do what needs to be done there. This is a bit harder to read, but the idea here is that you have a bunch of profiles that you can set up. So basically rules that you can set up, the scope of organization where it pertains to, and that's what the distributed order management solver will look at in order to produce the fulfillment plan itself. And there are multiple sets of rules today that you can set up, starting from a minimum inventory rule. So how many units do you need to have for a given set of products in every location? So for example, if you take a store, you can say that all my inventory in the store is available for fulfillment purposes. You can actually restrict it. You can actually take a location offline if for any reason that you're not ready to use that location for fulfillment purposes. You can actually suggest, for example, do you want a partial order? Do you want the order to be split? Different kinds of rules can be set up based on your business needs, and the distributed order management solver will take into account all of these in order to fulfill it. And I thought maybe we can just walk through a quick example of what that would look like in a fictitious example, just to see what that solver does and how does it work. So here is an example of a retailer that has head office in New York, and they have a bunch of smaller stores all around the country, but they also have large stores in a couple of places like in San Francisco. Now, Adriana is the customer who's actually living in Phoenix, and she's placing an order for 4 different line items, from a handbag to a dress, earrings, and shoes. And she's wanting all of that to be shipped to her. That's basically the order that she's placing. Now, if you really think about this and take into account all the inventory situations, so these are all the various stores and how many units there are in each of these stores, as well as if you look at the last column, that's where you specify the distance. So from where Adriana is, which is in Phoenix, all the distance between the various locations are specified as well. So if you have to ship this meaningfully, you have to pick the right location where the inventory is available and that can be shipped to the customer in the fastest and the cheapest way possible. So if you think of that as a situation, and if you think about distributed order management with absolutely no constraints, so you don't specify any constraints, what does it do? So you can see that the distance between Phoenix, where the customer is, to where the closest store is it makes a lot of sense to actually ship that from the Las Vegas store, where you can actually have all the units are already available. So there is no out of stock situation in that store. So I can take that set of products and I can distribute it so that she gets it faster and at the cheapest mode. So that's the simplest example. If you take the same example, and now I say, I need to have minimum inventory. So what I mean by that is, you set up a situation where I need to have at least one unit of a dress and a handbag in all my stores. If you specify that, then suddenly the Las Vegas store cannot ship anymore because it has only one unit of a dress and handbag in that particular store. So what the system will do is now split the order. So the dress and handbag can come from Denver and San Francisco, and the other two can come from Las Vegas. Now the question is, why did it choose dress from Denver and San Francisco, handbag? Is because if you look at San Francisco here, it also has only one unit of that dress. So it cannot fulfill that particular dress from San Francisco as well, even though it is a closer location compared to Denver. That's because of that minimum inventory rule is not being solved for that. So it is now actually splitting that order into 3 different shipments in terms of how the customer is getting that product, if you will. Now taking this forward, and if you now say, hey, that's too many shipments for me, I don't want to get that many. So if I want to put a split order constraints, if you will, so I don't want to split this order. Now if you run this, now I can no longer ship it from San Francisco because I don't have enough inventory. I can no longer do it from Las Vegas. Then the system will automatically choose the next possible location, which is Denver, and pick up all the products from Denver because there is enough quantity there in order to meet those constraints. And if you take this forward one more and say there are offline location constraints. So basically I can take a location offline and I can no longer ship from it for a period of time. If you do it that way, then without the minimum inventory and other constraints, so the order will now get split between Las Vegas and Denver as well. So you get the idea. So the more the constraints, the system will try and figure out the best possible way to meet those constraints and to deliver it in a way that is meaningful for the customer and to reduce cost. So today, the DOM solver only looks at cost as a variable. Of course, we have bigger plans in terms of how to make that even bigger going forward in terms of additional constraints that we can take into account. Secondly, there are, even though it is becoming generally available in October, we do have a backlog of features that our customers have given us. So we'll continue to invest in this area and to make this better going forward. And the idea here is that you take now order management that was largely done manually, now to have intelligence and orchestration capabilities that will make it easier for our retailers to fulfill orders in a way that is meaningful. Now, related to this back office function, which is the solver and how it picks up these orders, we need to have an equivalent function to do store fulfillment. So for example, if you were to say, hey, this particular order needs to be fulfilled from this store in the example that we just saw, how can I now enhance my store capability so that if I'm working in a store, that I can do my function, not just selling function, but inventory functions. And we actually ended up building this over the last, I would say roughly 9 months or so, to actually make it configurable and easy to use in that regard. So the first thing is notification. So we never had a notification framework in a store for practically anything. So we started building this in light of the fulfillment capabilities that we needed. So if I am a store associate, I now have the ability to be notified on number of orders that are supposed to be shipped out, number of orders that customers are coming into my store to pick up. So that's directly in the application that I can drill in, and it provides me with a tile count, and I can actually start using it in a way that is meaningful. This notification framework, by the way, is also fully extensible. So even though we have done it for fulfillment purposes, it is actually extensible for additional custom operations as well. And from a roadmap standpoint, we'll talk about that in a second, we do have plans to make this even better for additional types of functions, not necessarily for fulfillment purposes, for additional type of functions in terms of how users in the store can be notified as well. Now, once the users are notified, as part of one of the omni-channel improvements that we have done. So historically, we've always done ability to actually go into a store, what we call as cash and carry. You can actually buy something, take it with you, that we've always supported. And over the years, we've actually enhanced that one step at a time to say, now I can walk into a store, I can get it shipped to me. I can walk into a store, I can split the order and say, partly I'm taking with me, partly I'm getting it shipped to me, for example. So all of those capabilities were there. One thing that we did not support, which we added support recently, is the ability for an associate to take an order that is not just shipping it to the customer, but the associate can actually specify which store should ship it to them. So we call that, some customers call this as charge send. So I can walk into a store in Orlando and I can say I want this product. The associate can look up inventory across all stores and I can say, you know what, Seattle store already has one, and I can have that store ship it. So they can specify the ability for the other store to be able to ship as well, which is already in the product now. Now, based on this, there is no situation, generally speaking, that you cannot do in a store in terms of various fulfillment options, if you will. Now, in order to do that chart send, obviously you need inventory visibility in the store. And again, it used to be always available that you can actually look at available quantity in other stores for a given product. And we control that through obviously store locator groups. But we have now expanded that. Not only does it provide on hand, you can actually see what's on order, what's in transit. So basically provide all that information to an associate so that they can make a good, meaningful recommendation for their customers, including available to promise information is available to the user right within the point of sale screen. They don't have to no longer go to back office to be able to do that. And the other thing that we have added here is this matrix inventory grid. So when you have a product with variants, it wasn't quite easy or possible before to actually see how many of these products are available in which style, color, sizes. Now we have introduced a similar grid. We had this grid in the back office for a number of years. We have now introduced that right within the point of sale screen where I can see by style, color, and sizes in an easy way. And from right there, you can actually see how many on-hand units do I have versus how many of them are reserved or where it is coming from. And from right there, I can take meaningful action to actually either ship or have the customer pick up from that particular store or another store as well. So that makes it a lot more easier and interesting for an associate to be able to provide the best possible service for the customer as opposed to anything else. And once that is done, we have also made improvements to our category and product management functionality. So this is back office capability, where we had to have a variant group concept in order to make the sort orders in terms of how it shows up on the UI. You typically expect it to be shown as, small, medium, larges, not based on alphabetical orders, if you will. So we have made that improvement not just in one place, but across all of the processes that are in head office as well as added more properties. So category management, we have added a bunch of properties where you can set at a category level that it will always inherit, that we have enhanced it for additional properties as well in the last few months. The second back office function that is critical that we have improved is what we call as end of day processing and statement posting. So basically, as these point of sale transactions are being trickle fed into the system, it resulted in two things. One, if something were to go wrong, we didn't have the right state model to figure out where things went wrong, what was the error condition, how do you surface up to the user. We never were able to do any of that. So it resulted in statements going wrong and support tickets being raised or partner or a customer having to deal with those issues. So we have actually done a lot of work to clean this area up in terms of having now a state model. When things go wrong, we actually show it to the user. If it is a data issue, they can actually go fix it. And we can always pick up the posting process directly from where it was left off, more so than anything else. We have also done so much improvement in terms of our telemetry and instrumentation around it so that we know exactly what's going wrong, so we can improve that even better, as well as in terms of the improvements from a UI standpoint where the right information is surfaced up to the user in order for them to take action on it. So all of this is now actually available. It has already shipped a few months ago. Several of the customers are actually using it, and we are getting to see some benefits already by working with those customers in terms of what this means to them. As we talk about roadmap, I'll also point out a few more enhancements that we think will make it even better, but I'll come to that in a second. Few small minor improvements include sales reps. So we actually introduced the notion of a sales rep and commissions in point of sale. That was done a while ago, but one of the key things was it was much harder for the user to actually be able to select those sales rep. It was a drop down. It wasn't conducive for touch operation. You couldn't scan somebody's card and add a sales rep to a transaction. So being able for that to be managed in a way that is meaningful has now been introduced. Now it can scale to as many of these sales reps that you have, whether it's a small store or a large department store. It's been optimized for that purposes as well. Similarly, customer search is a key area that obviously happens both from a call center standpoint, but also from point of sale. Call center did a much better job in terms of how it was searching across the customer. Point of sale, not so much. Now we have added search shortcuts from a back office configuration standpoint. So you can actually say which parameters do you want to search by, what should the shortcuts look like, as well as how do you configure it in terms of how it shows up on the UI, if you will. So now it can be refined. So I can get my customer list, just like how you're refining a product to say, show me all products in this department under this price point. You can now say, show me all customers who are in this zip code or this phone number or anything like that, all built into the same experience from a store client perspective. The next important thing is around pricing and discounts. I think most of you know this. We have quite extensive set of pricing and discount capabilities from a retail standpoint, whether it is mix and match or quantity discounts, threshold discounts, all of them have been there. One of the key things that we struggled with is, I don't know if you know this, but in assortments a long time ago, you can actually set exclude condition. So you can say my brick and mortar store in Orlando can take all men's product, but not shoes or something like that. So you can always exclude things. That's like a very simple way to do it. It's just one line on the assortment grid, if you will. And as you introduce products into other type of menswear or you remove something from shoes department, it automatically will work for you. We wanted a similar set of capabilities on pricing and discounts as well, where you can say 10% off on all men's, but not shoes, as an example. So we were not able to do that exclude condition, which we introduced. Similarly, if I were to be able to set prices for based on a dimension. So let's say all extra large men's shirts are 10% off or something like that. We didn't have the ability to do it at a dimension level. You have to add every given line of extra large shirt in the discount grid. So making it, one, really hard for the user to go do it, and also it has impacts on performance as well. Now we have the ability to set up pricing and discount based on dimension value. So you can simply say this particular product that is in this particular color is 10% off or something like that. So it makes sense to do it for trade agreements and for discounts so that it's simpler, easier, and also faster to be able to do that. And the data footprint is much, much smaller compared to anything else. On the point of sale, we have always had the need to pay and support for additional invoices. So obviously sales invoice is one part, but we also wanted to be able to support free text invoices, credit notes, and whatnot. So that was a long-standing ask from a variety of customers. So now we have added the support for being able to do multiple different types of sales invoice operations in point of sale itself, and that opens up the ability for not just POS, but how POS gets used in different types of store and store types, if you will. Last but not the least is customer loyalty. So loyalty has been part of our product for a very long time. So we have had the ability to set up loyalty programs, loyalty cards, customers, and how that would work, loyalty schemes, and so on. Now we are taking that and actually supporting many, many more new enhancements that are coming up. So for example, you can now generate card numbers directly as you would issue a card directly. We can generate the card numbers, if you will. And depending on the loyalty program itself, you can actually have vesting period. So which is another way of saying that if you buy something today, the loyalty points that you earn will not all vest in the immediately. You can actually have a vesting period that takes time, as well as being able to support certain type of customers who participate in a loyalty and certain types who don't. So for example, wholesale customers don't participate in loyalty, or employees of an organization don't have that. So you can exclude those, as well as the ability for loyalty points to be earned, not just from a transactional perspective, but for non-transactional as well. So for example, if you take a survey about whatever your experience was, you can earn some points. Or if you post something about the product in your social media, for example, you can earn points. So ability to go beyond just traditional transaction-based loyalty earning and redemption to non-transactional based is extremely important, and that's something that we have that we have already added, and this is already shipped in terms of monthly enhancements, but more is coming shortly thereafter. So that's effectively, for the last 9 or so months, everything that we have done. What I'd like to do is basically now talk about where we are heading generally at a very broad level, give you a sense of what we are trying to do, as well as how that breaks down into a roadmap that is both tactical and slightly longer term as well. So I have a small video to play. And what that video represents is obviously shopping journey that a customer goes through and how it interacts with employees both in store and in back office. And the way we think about this from a roadmap standpoint and our where we want to go is actually splitting between a customer shopping journey. So when most retailers, most customers, when we talk to them, when we think about this from an omni-channel customer shopping journey standpoint, obviously they go through multiple stages from evaluation to purchase to post-purchase. But as important as that is, it is equally important to tie everything that happens on a customer shopping journey standpoint to what happens on the back office side, which is from everything from planning to procurement to inventory, supply chain, order management, and everything else. From a Microsoft Dynamics standpoint, we obviously have assets that cuts across both of these in a very, very deep and nice way. However, today, we don't necessarily bring all of that together in a way that is meaningful or can be done. And our goal is to be able to take all of Microsoft Dynamics assets, combine that with Microsoft All-Up assets in order to deliver this entire richness of customer shopping journey tied with the back office processes so that it can be better. So many of the examples that we just walked through, whether it's distributed order management, inventory visibility, all of that ties into that exact same notion where if I am in the store, if I'm trying to buy something, how can the employee in the store allow the customer to go buy something while ensuring that the back office supply chain processes are all coming together. So the phenomenal improvement here would be when we tie together the promise to the customer that happens, whether it's online or in store or on a mobile or social, can now be fulfilled by the back office set of supply chain processes that can hold that promise to the customer, if you will. So we have assets, we are working progress in terms of bringing it all together, and the next set of investments that we'll make will ensure that that happens in a way that is meaningful. Which takes us into, again, if you think about it from an intelligence standpoint, and I think at this conference and everywhere else, data and intelligence is the key to almost everything from a business process automation standpoint. From a retail perspective, there are many opportunities here. These are just some examples. From personalization to be able to offer meaningful recommendation, meaningful offers that are personalized and targeted, to Internet of Things in terms of how that can transform both from a supply chain standpoint, but also from a shopper experience standpoint, all the way through to what we call as social and conversational commerce, where you no longer are tied to a specific app of a particular retailer. You can actually pick up and either use an Instagram or a WeChat or any app of your choice, and now the retailer can have a presence in those platforms, providing rich set of capabilities on their catalogs, on their products, on their pricing and promotion that they have, now allowing a customer to be able to transact on their terms in whichever engagement that they have, whether it's normal through browsing experience or through a conversational, which is natural language-led processes as well. So we think about not only shopping journey with back office processes, but infused with intelligence will take us to the next journey in terms of where we need to go. Now, we have all of this in mind, and obviously we cannot do all of this in one shot. So we basically think about this in terms of how can we invest and deliver this over a period of time. And I think many of this, you have seen this. So we have been shipping monthly for almost now 18 plus months, and we actually disclose our roadmap. We actually specify what we are going to work on. And this is an example of things that are either already in progress or that we'll work on shortly. So I'll just quickly walk through. So everything on fundamentals that we talked about, whether it's the extensibility improvements that I just mentioned, there is more that we are planning on doing based on customer feedback. One important thing that I'll also point out is automation tools. So the ability for us not only to provide this, but also provide regression tools that customers and partners can leverage, both for back office, but also for in-store components is something that we are working on. We did talk about the cloud scale unit before, so that's certainly the phase 2 and phase 3 is coming up. We talked about payments, and then the payment connector support is coming up as well. At some point, our goal is to make sure that our servicing story here is actually getting to a point where it's not just reduced servicing downtime, but actually zero downtime. So that's part of our roadmap as well, to be able to have no downtime from a servicing standpoint for our customers. The second bucket here is basically about how do we take all of our assets that we have from within Dynamics as well as at Microsoft to build some capabilities that are important. So one good example is we have Dynamics customer engagement applications, whether it's sales, customer service, field service applications, and how do we bring it all together in a way that is meaningful. And to think about it in a way that is end-to-end scenarios, whether it's marketing solution, how it ties into retail, or customer service solution and how that ties into retail, are all things that are going to be powered through common data service and the One Data initiative equivalent that was announced here at Ignite. So try to bring that together so that if a customer were to place an order in a physical store or e-commerce, that particular order is available for a customer service representative as they're actually answering those questions or taking a call from that particular customer, and vice versa. If I'm running a marketing campaign, how can that campaign include the products and the discounts and the prices that are configured from a retail standpoint so that it's end-to-end as opposed to the seams that we have today in between. To deliver this, we are also thinking of doing this in terms of new modern applications like a clienteling application. So many of the core capabilities from a store standpoint are already there, but if we can expand that to an in-store clienteling application standpoint where I can not only sell to the customer when they are in the store, but when they walk out of the store, I can still engage with them. I can still have a communication channel between me and the customer who has walked out, is an example of an application called clienteling that we are thinking of investing and building so that you don't have to replace your traditional transactional capabilities, but you can actually start with dynamics from one of these surround applications that can start the process over a period of time. You can actually change your in-store systems or your back office systems as well. The last bucket here is basically all the industry excellence in terms of capabilities that we plan to either invest or enhance. So we talked about distributed order management capabilities already that are shipping, but we have a backlog of capabilities around making that across multiple legal entities, making it work across not just retail orders, but any order, for example. So that's an area that will continue to see more investments because we are seeing customers are pretty excited about that. They have a lot of good things to talk about, so we'll continue to enhance that area better. From end of day, I did mention already all the good things that we have done, but a couple of more things that are coming up is what we call as trickle feed posting. So basically what happens today is all these transactions are coming in. You have to wait until end of day to do the statement calculation and posting purposes, which actually takes a lot of time, effort, and also slows down the rest of other processes. Now, one of the things that we are trying to do is actually as these transactions are coming in, we can actually start creating sales orders while it is coming in. We can actually go through the process for a set of these orders in order to be able to avoid the impact towards end of day. But more importantly, I no longer have to do inventory reservation as a separate thing because the moment it is actually added to a sales order, the reservations are automatically done as well. So that's an example of improvement that we are working on for end of day, including what we call as consistency checker. So when data comes from an external system, today data is corrupt in some examples, and because of that, it actually gets caught during end-of-day statement posting processes. It becomes a statement posting problem when it is really a data problem. So we're trying to catch that ahead of time so that the consistency part of it is done much earlier than during end-of-day, if you will. Last one important thing I would point out is at this conference last year, there was a lot of feedback around when is retail going to be available on-prem. Like finance and operation was made available, so retail wasn't. So we took that feedback. So as of October, end of October, we plan to make retail available for on-prem installations as well. Again, the number of customers who are choosing on-prem is far and few in between, but there are good reasons why they do so. And when they have that need, now they can actually choose to deploy retail from an on-prem standpoint. We did talk about loyalty and other examples, but I'll just take a quick minute to walk you through some examples that are already underway in terms of what we are working on. So we talked about distributed order management and whatnot. So the loyalty one that I just told you earlier are all done. These are things that are coming up. So for example, the loyalty capability in terms of earning and redeeming, not just from store, but also from call center. That's improvement is coming up. We are also able to provide visibility for point balances. So how much balance do you have, by what reward program do you have, as well as full audit of all the various ways that you have earned and or redeemed your points in a nice, easy to use way is coming up as well. As well as the ability to have rewards. So you can say customers of this particular loyalty tier can get free shipping as part of rewards as well, or the ability for them to consume it based on various different affiliations are also part of our roadmap here in this regard. Store hours. This seems like a simple enough thing, but we never had it in our product to be able to configure operating hours of a given store in a way that is easy for a store employee to be able to use it. as well as to be able to surface that up in a way that is meaningful. So that is getting now as part of standard product that is simply easy to configure. So you can actually manage all of your store hours in a central place, either at a store level or at a group of stores level. You can actually have different types of summer versus winter versus holiday hours. You can set that up with date effectivity. You can print it out on a receipt, obviously, so that a customer gets to see it, as well as if I'm in a store. If I look up the store and the information around it, you can actually see the information about the store hours as well. So simple feature, but has tremendous value both from an in-store perspective, and because of the way we are building it, it is actually getting exposed through retail server as well. So if you go online to your online store, you can also see the store information there as well. Another good example here in terms of fundamental industry excellence is the ability to do better visibility into transactions that were suspended. The ability to quickly recall by barcode. So you don't have to scroll multiple of these that are at a time. You can actually scan and get the improvement as the transactions that were suspended. But more importantly, in terms of journaling this, both in terms of back office as well as in store, to be able to actually show it and cross-reference them. And another important thing is if I have a bunch of these suspended transactions sitting there, there was no cleanup. There is no way for us to clean that up automatically. So now we are introducing the ability to automatically void during end-of-day processes, or actually have the user to be able to select all of them easily and void them, so that those transactions that were suspended beyond a particular point in time are no longer available. And to go forward from a journaling standpoint, obviously, journals are super important in terms of tracking and tracing everything that happens. But we didn't have the ability to indicate tax-exempt lines in a receipt, for example. We didn't journal the no sale or voids in our journal to be able to look that up, to search and whatnot. And now that is getting added, as well as the summary slip. So you can actually now print a configurable summary slip that will break down all the transactions in a super high level, so that you can see that information in a much easier way, as opposed to manually having to do this in the past. Another big improvement that is coming up is obviously cash management, which is again fundamental for a store to run. And some of these have been in our backlog for a while, and I'm glad that we are able to get this out. So to be able to have safe management in a way that is done properly, so you can actually have a running safe total at any given point in time. You can have safe audit, and you can reconcile that. And now you can do cash management from one shift to another, a shift to a safe to a bank drop. So all of that are now possible, both from a point of sale client that is either running in tablet and or in a mobile optimized way, and to track all of this in a way that is meaningful for the business. From an order processing improvement standpoint, again, these are very, very critical set of capabilities. So if you were to return something that you bought as a customer order, there was no way to do an exchange or a return in the same process. We had to split that. So now we are planning on supporting exchanges within a customer order, so you don't have to no longer split that into two different transactions. And if you bring in return items, if you want to return across multiple invoices that you had originally bought from, so now you can return into a single transaction, returns across multiple invoices as well. Last but not the least, it's the ability to handle auto charges, whether it's freight charges, handling charges, whatnot. So the back office system supported wide variety of these for many, many years. Call center supported it already. But in-store, we had a gap in terms of being able to support auto charges in a way that is consistent in an omni-channel way, and we plan to fix that as well in terms of providing charges in a consistent way across all these channels. We mentioned about point of sale extensibility before. One key thing that is missing that we are planning to fix is also the URL, the ability to configure and access external web content directly from point of sale. You can actually configure them, access it through a point of sale button grid, just like how you would access any other operation. And you can now make it such that you can either launch a web browser and go to that site, or you can actually render that directly from within point of sale UI as well. So again, a small improvement, but adds a ton of value and capability that otherwise is not possible, including the ability now I can use that to launch a Power App and show that right within the context of the point of sale application itself. And last but not the least is the mobile point of sale improvements. Now, as you all know, our POS is cross-platform capable and it is cross-device form factor capable. So you can actually take a POS and run on a phone or a tablet or a PC or a kiosk, but we are making some specific improvements to phone form factor in terms of how these views are laid out, how easy is it to access, how context sensitive it is to access them right from within the action submenus, if you will, and to make it consistent and elegant for the users to do it. One very important thing that I think most of you will appreciate if you have played around with this is ability to do hardware support directly from the point of sale application itself. So historically, the idea of pairing up with a cash drawer or a printer has to be done through a hardware station, which is still supported today, no changes there. But we are also planning on an IP-based hardware support. So which means that we are going to specify certain type of peripherals that support IP-based support. And if you have those directly from my phone, if I want to print, I don't need a hardware station in the store. I can directly connect, I can directly print. So simplifying the setup, deployment, as well as in terms of ongoing operations as well. So that's going to be a extremely beneficial improvement, especially for those customers who want to go more mobile than traditional fixed registers capabilities, if you will. So that's, in a summary, everything that we are working on. Some of the ones that I highlighted are the ones that are going to come up shortly. The other ones will happen over the course of 2019, and we'll keep you posted. I just do want to tell you that we take your feedback really, really seriously. We engage with all of you and customers in a variety of different ways, whether it's through roadmap site, ideas portal, insider programs, and everything that you tell us actually forms the backbone for our backlog process. And for those of you who are not familiar, we actually do, retail team, we do a webinar every first Thursday of every month. It's hour and a half, and we actually specify what we shipped last month, what are we working on to provide that transparent communication. So if you're not aware of it, I would highly recommend you join the Yammer group, which I have a slide here, as well as start attending these calls as well. Here are the list of things that we have done based on your feedback in the last several months, if you will, and more that is coming as well that are directly influenced by your input and your conversations as well. So I do want to take a minute to thank you for all of your feedback and your trust in us, and we want to make sure that we continue to improve the product in many ways going forward. So if you have thoughts, feedback, suggestions, let us know, and we'll be changing our roadmap to address those issues as well. And if there is any other feedback, whether good, bad, or ugly, please keep it flowing so that we can improve the product, so to speak. So I do have a few more minutes for questions. I can take them now or after the session. And of course, take a few minutes to provide your evaluation on the session itself so that we can improve that better. Yeah. Questions? I think we have about 6 minutes or so. Okay. If there are no questions, let me know. I'm going to be here for a few more minutes. We can take questions offline, but otherwise, please inform us. And once again, thank you. And submit your evaluation. And here is the Yammer group, retail interest group. So please join that in case if you want to communicate with us on an ongoing basis, attend the webinars that we talked about. Feel free to take the time to join that. Thank you.